I am convinced that there are only two types of companies, those that have been hacked and those that will be, and even they are converging into one category, companies that have been hacked and will be hacked again. Fidelity, bravery, and integrity set the expectations for behavior, they set a standard for our work. More than just a motto, for the men and women of the FBI, fidelity, bravery, and integrity is a way of life. I asked a Burmese why women, after centuries of following their men, now walk ahead. He said there were many unexploded landmines since the war. In the United States, it's the mandate of the FBI to gather information relating to terrorism, go out and collect it, to do the interviews, to do the investigative work. And from the moment that we realized it was a terrorist attack, there isn't an agent or a support person in the FBI that wasn't committed to bringing to justice those who were responsible for this. I know that we will be judged in history by not only how we disrupt terrorism but how we protect the civil liberties and constitutional rights of all Americans, even Americans who don't wish us well. We must do all these things exceptionally well. The collapse of Enron was devastating to tens of thousands of people and shook the public's confidence in corporate America. In order to be successful against each of these threats, we have to have a presence overseas, work closely not only with our counterparts in the law enforcement community, but also with the intelligence community. Computer hackers do not need to know each other's real names, or even live on the same continent, to steal millions in mere hours. For most of us, fidelity is faithfulness to an obligation, trust, or duty. For the men and women of the FBI, fidelity also means fidelity to country. It means fidelity to justice and the law, fidelity to the Constitution, fidelity to equality and liberty. And so every one of us in the FBI, I don't care if it's a file clerk someplace or an agent there or a computer specialist, understands that our main mission is to protect the public from another September 11th, another terrorist attack. I remember seeing the first plane go into the towers and thinking, it's a beautiful day. Somebody really must have gotten off course to have the plane go into the towers. If you look at the 19 hijackers who came to the United States in September 11th to commit those acts, if you'd looked at them before they got onto a plane, you could probably say the same thing. There were various levels of expertise, various levels of competence. Prior to the passage of the Patriot Act, it was very difficult, often impossible, for us to share information with the Central Intelligence Agency, with NSA, with the other intelligence agencies, and likewise, for them to share information with us. It's because we need to determine who in this country is poised, positioned to commit terrorist acts. We cannot go up on a wire. We cannot do a search without a judge on the FISA court approving it and determining that we have met the standard that has been set forth by Congress in order to utilize these techniques. I would say in just about every investigation we have, there will be differences of opinion, where you have partial facts, as to what those facts mean. There'll be differences of opinion in just about every intelligence analysis that you make. So without getting into the specifics, I can tell you that to the extent that investigation is a relatively important investigation and meaningful, the president would have been periodically briefed. As I said before, there are often disagreements as to what a particular set of facts mean. That is not at all unusual, and one shouldn't read into it more than is there. All I'm going to tell you is investigations, whether it be this and others, where you have partial facts, analysts, agents are always trying to interpret what those facts mean, extrapolate from them what they mean. In planning an attack, persons have various roles. The 19 hijackers that came over here to commit the attack on September 11th, there were those that were at the bottom of the line. There were those who were the principal conspirators. There were those who were the pilot. Everybody has a role. The FBI's principal priority right now is protecting the United States against another terrorist attack. Secondly, not only have we put additional agents on counterterrorism, but we've also built up our analytical structure so that we're better positioned to analyze the information we have. So there is a foreign intelligence purpose for every one of our FISA warrants. Their FBI agents are some of the finest people you'll find anyplace in the country or the world, and I'm lucky to have the opportunity to work with them. I was in my office when, on September 11th, I think I had a number of meetings scheduled. I was just getting to know the bureau, and somebody walked in and said the first plane had, or a plane had struck the World Trade Center, one of the towers. And at that point, I think we all realized it was something tremendously tragic, probably a terrorist attack, and the next step was to go down to our command center and get things going. I didn't know the organization, but the one thing you can say about the FBI, it's tremendously professional. In the context of September 11th, there were so many that lost their lives that, how do you single out one person? There were so many acts of heroism that day from so many people, whether it be firemen and police officers in New York and our agents also. What we bring to the table is not only our 56 field offices in the United States and our number of resident agencies, but also we have 45 legal attachés overseas. But we had, I think if you look at law enforcement 10 years ago, if you look at the challenges, the FBI was focused excessively on what was happening in the United States. I think around the world, our agents are the best collectors of information you'll find. We had to address information technology in the ways we had not before and give the agents the tools that they need to do their job more efficiently and more expeditiously. I know when I was here prosecuting homicides in the District of Columbia, one of the most effective units here was the Cold Case Squad, which had on it FBI agents, as well as Metropolitan Police Department homicide detectives working together. But since September 11th, we have made every effort to try to work closely with state and local law enforcement. People talk about the Patriot Act that was passed immediately in the wake of September 11th. What the Patriot Act did was break down the walls between the various agencies. Leaking of classified material is a concern. We cannot turn back the clock. We cannot undo the impact of technology, nor would we want to. We need to take lessons learned from fighting terrorism and apply them to cybercrime. Perimeter defense may not matter if the enemy is inside the gates. In the wake of the September 11th attacks, it became clear that the FBI's #1 priority must be the prevention of another terrorist attack. For the men and women of the FBI, bravery is reflected not only in the physical courage often necessary in the job. It can be seen in the courage of conviction, in the courage to act with wisdom in the face of fear, and in the courage it takes to admit mistakes and move forward. The overwhelming majority of Muslims in this country and overseas are peaceful, law-abiding citizens. However, a small number of Muslims are members of fundamentalist sects sworn to the destruction of the United States. I am confident that every action we took as the FBI detained individuals in the wake of 9/11 was appropriately done. I love doing bank robberies, drug cases, homicides. As a prosecutor, that's what I thought I was going to be overseeing when I got to the Bureau. For the FBI and for the United States, the war on terrorism is a complex and perplexing issue. It is as complex and perplexing as any issue we have ever faced. I do believe when there are advances in technology that it is important to balance the privacy interests affected with the investigative take that you might get from that technology. I think, in the wake of September 11th, it's important for the American public to understand that to the extent that there are individuals within the United States who would undertake terrorist attacks, that we are doing something to address that. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.